Hey folks, welcome to my weekly live stream. I'm Kristine Weber. I love to help mature yoga teachers make their wisdom shine. Let me adjust my camera. Sorry, it's a little off. There we go. So I hope you're doing well this week. I have been teaching a lot about the sacrum and sacroiliac joint issues lately, and that is what I wanted to share with you today. A couple of tips about it, because the sacroiliac joint issues are a big issue in the yoga world. They're not necessarily for everybody else. I mean, yeah, they are for dancers and stuff, but I think part of the reason is that we often try to do these hypermobile poses in yoga. I used to, when I was a newer teacher, and I thought, like, gosh, I can't do that stuff. Nobody's going to come to my classes. I better like get with it. And I would really like push myself and try harder. And you would get messages, which thank God I don't hear this as much anymore, though I know it's still out there. But you'd hear these messages like, if you just push yourself harder and stretch more, you can do it just like the teacher. Like, swear to God, I heard people say stuff like that. And it's just complete nonsense, because, okay, here's the thing. Here's the statistics, folks. It's somewhere between 4 and 17% of the population that is hypermobile. I've seen different statistics on that. I've seen up to 20 and I've seen different statistics. Anyway, there's a certain percentage of the population that's hypermobile. Let's say 1 out of 10 people. And guess what? They all become yoga teachers. And then there's people who are not hypermobile, who go to yoga classes, and they get the messages of, well, if you just do more, you'll be like the teacher, and that it's just wrong. It's genetic. You can take something. There's a test you can take that will help you to determine if you're hypermobile. There's lots of ways to determine it. One of them, here's just a couple quick ones. One is, does your thumb easily touch your wrist? That's hypermobility. When you stretch your arms out, does the angle of your forearm go that way? Mine don't. I actually have carrying arms where they don't completely straighten because of the way the bone hits the bone. That is not going to be fixed if I do more. I mean, what the problem is going to be is, like, I'll have a broken arm, or a broken thumb. So we have to get out of that thinking that somehow being hypermobile is a good thing. It's really just a genetic thing, and then you can sort of support. We all have our range of motion that is healthy for us, right? All that being said, the issue, of course, is that we get messages in the yoga world that if we do more, we'll be more flexible. And that often contributes to sacroiliac joint problems. So I had a dear teacher back like 20 years ago who lived in Asheville, and Mary Kay was her name. And she was super hypermobile, like had lots of hypermobility. And she told me one day she was at a workshop with Rodney Yee, and she had both of her feet behind her neck, and Rodney sitting in tortoise pose, which I will not demonstrate. And then Rodney said, could you just tuck your tailbone there? And she did, and she heard a horrible pop, and didn't really, had to kind of untangle herself, and then she was injured for months. And that injury was it probably had something to do with the L5 to S1, but it also reverberated into her sacroiliac joints. And she realized it had a lot to do with doing triangle pose for years and years between those two sheets of, two panes of glass, that whole nonsense that used to be perpetuated 25 years ago. So anyway, some of us have been around for a while. We've seen all this stuff in the yoga world, and I'm so grateful to the physical therapists who have either the yoga teachers that became physical therapists, or the physical therapists became yoga teachers, who have started to help us untangle much of that, really unhealthy way of performing yoga. Okay, so my intention here is to show you how to rehab some of that sacral stuff. And this is not a workshop, this is a live stream. So I can give you some tips. If you want to study with me more, I highly recommend coming to the Subtle Yoga Resilience Society, where you can study with me every week. And I put out workshops the first Wednesday of every month in that group. And then I also teach pranayama and meditation in that group. So like there's a lot of it's yoga, it's like the whole kit and caboodle of yoga. So for today, I want to show you these 3 tips that can be really helpful. Please go see a physical therapist if you have sacroiliac joint dysfunction, or a yoga therapist who specializes in biomechanics would be great. But if you sometimes just have a tweak and you want to get stronger, these 3 postures can help. So I'm going to show you um, and it's useful to start with a little warming up, like a sunbird pose, Chakravakasana. So inhaling forward, exhaling back. That's a great way to start. And it also can help you to have a little interoceptive information about what's going on in the sacrum. So that's a good one. And then prone extension poses, any of them can be good. Cobra, locust, Dvipadapitam, chariot. I'm sorry, I said Dvipadapitam, Vimanasana, chariot pose. Those can be really helpful. But also, locust is one of my favorites. So it's inhale and you lift the chest and face and both legs. Doesn't have to be high. That's not what it's about. It's about, am I noticing my erectors, my QL a little bit, my glutes, my hamstrings, all of those things working. So that's a great pose to do for SI issues, and do it maybe like 4 to 6 times. See how it works. It's not about as high as you can go. It's about activating those muscles that support the sacrum, right? So I want to show you, and then coming back up to tabletop, a nice way to do this asymmetrically is with tiger pose. And tiger is usually like inhale, inhale, exhale, that sort of thing. But you could also do it with starting with the foot up and inhaling up a little bit more and exhaling down. So you don't have to do so much movement. So maybe 6 or 8 on one side and then 6 or 8 on the other side. Another nice thing to add here is an ankle weight, right? I don't have one right here, but you put that cuff around your ankle, gives you a little bit of weight, really good for your bones. I have no objection to bringing weights into yoga practice. I think it's great, particularly for more mature women who, we have to be mindful of osteoporosis. Then the third one I want to show you is bridge pose, also called 2-legged table, Dvipadapitam, more in the tradition I was trained in. And so, when I first learned bridge pose, it was all about, you have to get your hips high enough so that you can get your hands underneath, because it's a preparation for shoulder stand. Yes, it works that way. And another way to work this pose is by engaging the glutes, hamstrings, and the back muscles, right? So inhaling up and exhaling down so that you're using all those muscles. And it's not about coming up as high as you can. It's about feeling the sensations and the muscles that are working as I lift. And typically I do that on an inhale. It's also fine to do it on an exhale if you want a little more stability in the pelvic floor. So I hope these tips are helpful for you in thinking about how to keep your sacrum strong and healthy as you get older. I think that, or if it doesn't matter how old you are, if you've had injuries, I think that a lot of times what happens with asana practice is we overfocus on the mobility and we forget about the stability, right? But we need a balance between mobility and stability to really have a healthy practice. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been fun to be here with you today. Please leave a comment, and I'll see you next week. Lots of love. Mwah.